Amid the lush landscape of the Botanical Garden in Rio de Janeiro, a bloom is taking place that's considered a once-in-a-lifetime event. Back in the 1960s, a landscape architect brought a unique type of palm tree to Brazil. It's found naturally in India and Sri Lanka. The tree is called the talipot palm. What makes it unique is that it only blooms once in its lifetime, then naturally dies about a year afterward. What makes that more remarkable is that the tree lives anywhere from 30 to 80 years before it's one and done flowering, so events like this are generational. According to Reuters News, there are 2 talipot palms currently in bloom at Rio's Botanical Garden. Though it has a third tree like this, it was planted only a year ago, which means decades will pass before it flowers. And when the other 2 are dead next year, the staff will cut them at the base, where new seedlings will start the long, slow process all over again. Will a new search in the Indian Ocean help solve one of aviation's greatest mysteries? It's going to try, and we're going to tell you about it next on The World from A to Z. I'm Carl Azuz, reporting from the A to Z studios. The Asian country of Malaysia has given Ocean Infinity, an American robotics company, permission to launch another search for the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. The plane disappeared back in May of 2014 while flying from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Beijing, China. While it was over the South China Sea, the flight's transponder, a communication device, was apparently shut off, and the plane turned in a different direction, away from its intended destination, disappearing from radar in the hours that followed. Though debris from MH370 has washed up in islands of the Indian Ocean and parts of Eastern Africa, no one knows what happens to the flight or the 239 people aboard. And previous searches, which have concentrated in the Indian Ocean, have so far failed to find the crash site. Ocean Infinity, which has been part of those efforts, has reportedly been improving its technology, and it has a specific area of the ocean it wants to search. The new hunt will begin on December 30th and continue for a couple months if necessary. If and only if the company finds the wreckage, Malaysia will pay it $70 million. The long-awaited discovery is considered crucial to figure out what exactly caused MH370 to turn and vanish, and to provide closure for the families of those aboard who've waited more than 11 years for answers.
World of knowledge. Where would you find the world's oldest stock exchange? Amsterdam, Netherlands, London, United Kingdom, New York, New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Established back in 1602, the oldest modern stock exchange is located in the Dutch capital, Amsterdam, Netherlands.
For past generations of Americans, owning a home has helped to build wealth. Today, younger Americans are putting their eggs into a different basket, the stock market.
For young investors, that they can continue to buy the dip. And we've seen that playing out with a 6-fold increase in the number of young people who are investing in stocks.
New data from the JP Chase Institute shows over 1/3 of 25-year-olds have investment accounts, all while the average age of first-time home buyers rose to an all-time high of 38 in 2024, according to the National Association of Realtors.
It's a really interesting shift in how Americans are building wealth these days.
George Eckert, research director of the JP Chase Institute, says the shift began in 2022 after the rise in home prices impacted housing affordability.
If you don't have what it takes to make a down payment and handle monthly mortgage expense with interest rate at 30-year fixed above 6% and high home prices, then your options are relatively limited.
Part of the reason younger Americans may be more optimistic about the stock market could be because of a lack of long-lasting downturns in recent years.
If you haven't seen a significant downturn, it might feel like this is a kind of one-way directional game.
In terms of what the future could hold for young Americans' financial decisions, Eckert says interest rates will be a significant factor as they may decline more than home prices. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
But those stocks are usually much cheaper to invest in than real estate, like a home. Economists say the stock market can be a riskier investment since it's more volatile. Stock prices can go up and down very suddenly, depending on what's happening in the world.
On this date,
On December 4th, 1875, the New York politician known as William Boss Tweed escaped from jail and went into hiding. He was the leader of a corrupt New York City political organization named Tammany Hall, and Tweed had been accused of misusing city funds. Tweed hid out during the trial, and after being found guilty, fled to Spain. He was caught there and sent back to New York to serve his sentence. This was the date in 1909 when the Montreal Canadiens were founded. That makes them the world's oldest professional ice hockey team. The Montreal Canadiens are also the team with the most Stanley Cup titles. They've won 24. And on this date in 1991, American journalist Terry Anderson was released after being held hostage for more than 6 years. He was abducted by Islamic militants during Lebanon's civil war, and Anderson later said he'd forgiven them.
Did you know women are over 70% more likely to be injured in a car crash than a man? Don't worry, that wasn't a person, just a crash test dummy. These models help car makers and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration figure out how to make cars safer for passengers. But the NHTSA's dummies are outdated. The current one, used in driver's seat frontal crash testing, was developed nearly 50 years ago. It's modeled on a 5'9", 171-pound male, an average size back in the 70s, but about 26 pounds lighter than today's average. The female dummy is a smaller version with a rubber jacket to represent the chest. It's modeled after the 5th percent woman, 4 foot 11 inches and 108 pounds. 5th percent? That term describes a woman where only 5% of the female population is smaller in size. There is no dummy that represents the average woman. The theory is if a car can protect the largest and smallest occupants, it should protect those in the middle range. Women make up about half the drivers on the road in the United States, and yet female dummies have historically mostly been tested in a vehicle's passenger and back seats, rarely in the driver's seat. Some theorize that women are more likely to be injured because current testing doesn't use a realistic female dummy.
We need up-to-date female crash test dummies and male crash test dummies updated so that we can really discern all the injuries that might occur in that environment.
Humanetics Group has spent more than 2 decades developing a dummy modeled on a woman, aiming to reflect the anatomical difference between genders, including the shape of the neck, collarbone, pelvis, and legs. It's a step forward, but still with the 5th percent problem. Some American car companies argue that the dummies, which also have about 120 extra sensors, exaggerate injury risks and underestimate the effect of seatbelts, airbags, and other safety features.
We went fishing for today's schools in the comments section of our YouTube channel, and we caught the fishermen watching at O'Malley Innovation Middle School. Great to see Mr. Mulkern's class in Gloucester, Massachusetts. On the West Coast, it's Mr. Peterson Van Canigan's class that's next. The Pandas, a Pioneer Special School program, are watching from Portland, Oregon. And one Golden State South in Sutter, California. Hello to the Huskies at Sutter Union High. Miss Juana's class is online and awesome like Fridays.
A Texas cop lent a helping hand to a stranded resident who just so happened to be a goat.
Where do you live?
The officer worked to corral the goat into his patrol vehicle.
Look how cool this car is. Get in the car.
And despite its attempts to ride shotgun,
No.
it was rebuffed and redirected to the back seat,
You're one bad mamma jamma.
where the officer, who clearly does things by the book, read the goat its Miranda rights.
You have the right to remain silent.
Despite the cop's attempts to get the silly Billy suspect to speak,
Rights in mind, do you still wish to talk to me?
it opted instead to exercise its right to remain a goat. I'm Jeremy Roth.
But Miranda rights for goats are a little different. You have the right to remain ruminant. Anything you bleed out can and will be used against you in the barnyard. You have the right to talk to a lawyer, but his name is Billy and he's kind of gruff. You have the right to kid around and milk this arrest for all you cut. But if you try to hoof it or pass the buck, you'll be corralled and booked on charges of being utterly bad. I'm Carl Azuz, just trying to get your goat on the world from A to Z. You mean the world to me. Come on back tomorrow.